No, no.
It's
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and salutations. I'm your boy Akard, here with my partner in crime.
Hey guys, what's up? It's up, TK.
And we are here for the last episode of Delicious in Dungeon, aka Dungeon Meshi. Kayla just told me some news since I was staying off the internet for all this morning, especially after last night with the basketball game. But Dungeon Meshi Season 2 has been confirmed.
Happy Pride Month, y'all! Happy Pride Month!
Oh man, that is some of the best news, literally, because the last 24 hours have just been, the last 2 weeks has just been a wash. But now that Dungeon Meshi, is getting a Season 2, that's what we like to see. All right, let's do this. Dungeon Meshi, final episode. Oh man.
The world is going to be a lot less bright waiting for Season 2.
Oh, that's right. Yes, everybody's all, well. By Shonen Senshi out here.
Izumi, Chilchuck?
Lifespan. Will we age at the rate we did before we transformed? Or will that change based on our new bodies? Hey, Marcel, if you think that does enough years, you're gonna get old and wrinkly and then die!
Jesus.
Way to punch down. Way to punch down.
Is that short? I thought they lived to 100.
Markets means
what in the Rachel Dolezal?
Has some kind of awful side effect.
It's not it.
I mean, that is
honestly thinking more in regards to Fallon.
What about her?
Now, this is all hypo.
I've learned my lesson.
Fallon regains her sanity.
What was I just doing?
Yeah.
We return to the surface.
Man, that was really rough, wasn't it?
Oh God.
She
Yeah.
scares people.
It's
So, in that case,
Has to say.
Not a problem
I
for
thought about hiding
some.
that part by putting her in a hole.
What can I get ya?
However, a large monster can't survive in
Live in town after all!
So stupidly optimistic.
Oh God.
Though,
Just keep
I won't
changing.
deny wanting to change into something
Oh
else
no.
too. Tolman.
God damn. Oh shit.
He tried to headbutt. Uh-oh.
Damn it! Watch out, everyone!
Oh man.
What is going
Well,
on,
you're not used
Marcel?
to being
Now do you
small.
understand why I quickly run off and find no matter what body you're in, huh?
I mean, big bad girl fail. No matter what form.
Oh, jeez. Oh, they're
Where did
back.
the smoke come from?
Or are they?
Cast some arms
Underneath.
were when it passed through them.
Yeah.
Wait, so that means...
Oh,
Wasn't
man.
around, damn it! You guys!
Do
Right?
they have spores on them?
Well,
What do we do now? Is this it?
we're gonna have the gargoyle pass through our... Come this way!
Oh God.
Oh god.
No. Oh God. Oh God. No.
Oh,
You gotta love how trigger works, man. Uh-oh.
it can't fly away anymore!
Come on, let's
Surround it, surround it. The power of holding hands.
Yeah.
This is the gargoyle?
It really did change.
It looks like
See, it works
the
like
coin.
this too. So non-living things transform faster.
damn.
Are you okay?
Damn. That gargoyle
It
is
hurts,
like
but
trying
I'm
to curse
fine.
stop him.
Dwarves' bodies are as tough.
I'm about to choke her, bro.
Yeah?
What if we...
DT, SKT.
Yeah.
It should work.
What should...
The spit that came out of his mouth, though.
2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2, and 1,
Oh, they're going on with the animation, though.
It's making its move. You ready to do this?
Yeah, this animation
Ready?
clean as
Take to
fuck.
the sky, Marcel!
Oh, God. Uh, 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 uh,
kind of anticlimactic. But if you wash
No.
off the spores stuck to your body, you'll go back to normal.
Yay! Oh, man got pissed on.
Yo,
Man's getting pissed on.
Clearly, we're basically the mushroom seed bed right now.
Oh
I
no.
think I finally understand why the mushrooms behave the way well.
Oh man.
Kensuke, it's hard to believe that bit of a stretch
At
to
least
think
it's
the
not
mushrooms
golden.
I
were
feel
the
like
cause
that's an
of this.
omen.
Most likely.
Will washing you change
Oh
your
wow.
back?
That perspective.
When golden brown, remove the dumplings and blot the excess oil.
Oh,
On
hot.
top of izutsu for fill.
With the dog hair.
Tell me, what do you think?
You just fried them.
Could you not?
He's stressed. Man's stressed.
What if...
Oh wow.
Oh, it changed its shape.
That's
It seems as though
crazy.
the mouth does indeed act as a change. It's changed too.
Oh, that's interesting.
No way, I got cheese.
This one tastes sweet.
I can't figure out the meat in mine.
Oh, he's back.
Yay!
The normal.
What a lousy
For
way
free,
to wake up!
Lyles?
Thank goodness.
I've never.
First
been
man's getting pissed on, then he's like deep
I think we
pics
should
Yeah.
on the internet.
Yeah.
Actually, let's change into lighter clothing first.
This anime's for
Pretty
the
warm on
pervs.
this floor.
You know, this is the perfect temperature for...
But the sword
Why are
is
you
Captain
covering your
Inosuke
sword
is-
with a cloth?
What cloth?
Let me see it, Lio.
What?
I
Huh?
would rather you didn't.
Let me see it now!
So what should we do with him? My
Ooh,
vote
it's-
is that we form a circle and kick his ass.
I mean,
Finish
big,
this off
big,
immediately.
but it's growing
Yeah.
mushrooms.
find
Save
it?
the
Yeah.
mushrooms.
All that's here is a strange building, but there's nowhere else to go.
Seeing Lyos' face, well, he was just mad sad on his knees. He was just like, come
What?
on, man.
In this thing?
Inside and have a look.
Dude, he's Suzumi, man.
He's Suzumi.
I doubt this thing.
Oh,
Why is it moving?
technology,
Sexy,
bro!
what the heck
Technology in my fantasy?
me.
I love it!
This might be the kind of...
This dungeon is full of many, many things.
The way this plays out, it reminds me so much of Final Fantasy VI, just the elements of the fantasy
I don't
and
really
the
think any of
magic,
this is gonna
Yeah.
help us.
and now we're getting into
well,
the
I'm not
tech side
sensing
of
anything
it.
dangerous just yet.
But I don't know if it's working right or not.
This feels bad.
It's a little bit
To believe you did all that without a single plan. Your whole
Sometimes
thing
life
makes
is
sense,
like
but
that.
why did Fallon tag along? I feel like her...
environment. So I left the village a year before she did. Until magic school, no. Until she met Marcel, she probably ate her meals alone. When I think about it, it hurts my heart.
Me too.
Though, mentally, Fallon's away.
Oof.
What are you doing? Stop it!
Alan, she would always pick up weird things and bring them to me. Herbs. I
Oh,
never
man,
knew
the
why she chose
feels.
me specifically.
I bet she won't.
Ah, feels, man.
Sure we will soon.
With the way I'm looking at it,
When you're
Fallon
not
is
used
most
to people
like
with
bacon and eggs
emotions.
right now.
Yeah.
You know, if we're comparing souls to eggs like before. There's an egg on some bacon, and they're stuck together. However, it still seems possible to separate them cleanly. That's how I see Fallon. In comparison, Izutsuki
Oh, that's why
is
they
like
have
a mixed
bacon in it.
Why is that where your mind goes?
Because we need to know! This is
Yeah.
the best plan we've come up with so far. Do you have any better ideas?
Oh,
In order to
man.
take claim to what you kill, you have to eat it first. Of course. Why didn't I think of that before? We've been doing exactly that this whole time! Although, she's huge. If we each ate
She
1
is.
kilogram a day, then it'd take over 10 years to
Right.
finish the whole thing.
I see
You
what
really
he's
think
saying.
I could eat a
Yeah.
kilogram's worth.
Absolutely not.
That's pretty much all I can
mean-
think of.
That's plenty.
Man,
But still not enough to eat a dragon. One more mid-sized group would do it. Well, at the very least, our goal from here on out's become crystal clear. Dungeon. 2, with the Lion's help, we finally neutralize the Mad Mage. 3, gather people who are willing to assist in eating Fallon's dragon parts. I suddenly have hope this is gonna work.
A lot of
Sounds like it's gonna be
convincing.
one hell of a party.
We're not gonna.
Wait,
I think this is the first time we're hearing her
You'll
voice in
understand it when you
English.
see it. But, to be
Or
honest,
am I bugging?
I don't think
No, we
these
did
are the
see her
kind of
before.
changes the folks behind us will like.
Oh shit.
We could make stock from
That's
the
enough!
Now's not really the time to be crafting a Fallon menu.
I'm so hungry.
I'd eat her.
Let's start prepping something.
You got it.
Just saying.
Dungeon
Time you
food.
up.
To eat or be eaten. There is no hierarchy
Oh
here.
man.
Only the simple concept that eating is a privilege of the living. Ah, dungeon food. Delicious in dungeon.
To be continued.
It can't just end like that.
Unfortunately, it just did. Legend Messi, man.
I think. Okay. So I give this a 9.5 out of 10 because this was a great episode, but the fact that it leaves on. I think what's sticking in my craw right now is the fact that we know we're gonna have to wait such a long time for a season 2, and this just feels like the start of a season. Does that make sense? Like this episode felt like the episode 1 of a season 2. You know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's a mix of that cliffhanger feeling, but not the excitement for a cliffhanger, like a to be continued. We're coming back in 3 months to find out how Jean-Luc Picard is Locutus of Borg and how the Enterprise is going to deal with that kind of thing. For you Trekkie fans out there, a famous to be continued season finale, I think, or mid-season finale, but like, oh my god, so this was a great episode. A lot of emotion, a lot of fun. I always like love when they throw in the jokes and shit like that. Cause I don't know, it feels like I'm just waiting for next week, but I'm gonna be disappointed that there is no next week. I mean, there is a next week, but no Dungeon Meshi next week.
Yeah.
It's not like it feels anticlimactic, but I guess I expected something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess you expected like a bigger like cliffhanger or to fall off on like something more dramatic. That would get you more excited for season 2, or like I feel like yeah, that's pretty much I think your general feelings is like that. You wanted something a little bit more to allure you that okay, season 2 is gonna happen, instead of because like the way that the way they set the episode up was to we was gonna have to get back to their original bodies, right? So that much had to happen, even though they gave theories for why like if they were have to continue on in those each of those bodies, like they gave theories for why it could happen and what could happen after that. But the main thing was resolved, once they woke up, then this episode, what it did was set the playing field for the next portion, or should I say the next arc, which is going to be, all right, now that we have more of Lyos's backstory at the very, very end, building upon the connection between more so of Marcel and Fallon, of course. Lyos's worries about everything that's going on, and you have Senshi, like it's like a full circle moment as well. That's what I got from it, because Senshi is now giving hope, because originally in Senshi's character, this is not something he would do, right? But he's become changed and become more beloved. He's found a group of people that's like family to him now, right? So he wants to help out a family member that he personally doesn't know, but is close to his new family member, which is Lyos, right? And so this new concoction of this plan, now we have to eat Fallon's dragon parts in order for her, because that was always going to be I guess you say a dilemma. It's something I brought up like weeks ago, like you know, since the king disintegrated when he got to the you know, above, like how is Fallon going to operate now that she's fused pretty much with the dragon? So now they got to eat the dragon parts, and Laios, everyone's like was giving him shit, like bro, what are you talking about? Like we just got to eat Fallon. But he's like, all right guys, that sounds cool and I'm all for eating my sister, but there is some other logistics we have to think about, which is the portions and how, like, that's a lot of meat, right? And so it's like now you got to build upon, like, reestablish the connections that Lyles had, and going through the people that would most likely be up for it. All the meanwhile, the elves are actually in the dungeon. Something has happened that the elves are now in the dungeon, because if I remember carefully, they said that they was gonna let, you know, Shiro, Kabru take care of it, right? But now elves are in,
no, they said that they were gonna go with them, that they were gonna investigate that.
Okay.
That if Kabru wants to stop whatever they're doing, that they have to go with them to investigate what's happening. Like, okay, we'll give you the 24 hours, but if in 24 hours you don't come up with an answer we like, we're gonna go with our plan. That's pretty much what's happening.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I thought that they was going to give them 24 hours to like do something else in the dungeon and then come, not just, you know, we in here in the dungeon, and that's why I was just like, yeah, the elves are in the dungeon now, so that's a bigger issue. It's funny because we saw in the openings, you know, or at least in the first opening, that the elves were coming, and then now they're here and they're in the dungeon. We already know shit's about to go haywire, and this dungeon's gonna have way more elements of uncertainty happening to it. The other thing is, why did the Mad Mage stop Fallon from eating the mushroom?
And the Mad Mage Thistle also sense that something else is going on.
Yeah.
So it feels like something is going on outside of his control, because now he's feeling the shift in energy.
Yeah, like this massive shift in energy is happening. The lion has to get got, right? So it's like they basically gave the plot points and put into context. So it's like this was like, it really, so in that sense it felt like a wrap-up episode, but also giving us the new goals, like, and lets us know that, all right, this is a to be, like the to be continued was about to happen. It just felt more abrupt, but like, you know, just like, I guess more so peeling it back, you know, this is what they did. It's a setup, pretty much. It's truly a setup. It's not the type of setup that leaves us on a brutal cliffhanger, you know, where life and limb is happening and whatnot, mainly because of the vibes that Dungeon Meshi has always, you know, given us. It was, you know, a lot more jokey, even though that's one of the things I always harp on, you know, it being a basically a black comedy, where even though in these most serious situations, you know, there's still means to have comedy, and that's in these lighthearted, or you could say dark-hearted jokes that they make, like, because at the end of the day, Fallon's gonna feel some type of pain. Like, they gotta cut her in half, and they gotta separate her from this dragon.
Like I said, more trauma for this poor girl.
Yeah, so and then knowingly they have to eat her, and they're just making it sound jokey, but that's black comedy. Like, it's morbid at the end of the day, but because of that situation, like, that's what's gonna happen. But Lyles is trying to be the voice of reason. Like, guys, you don't understand. There's a lot of meat to eat for just 5 of us, and that's gonna take like 10 years. So now, you know, building upon all the connections, and it's gonna also have to end up because I mean, all right, so becoming the king, right? The king of the dungeon, I believe. That's what the arcs, well, that's what they also told Lyos about. And even Kabra was thinking about, like, what type of person would Lyos be if he was to be, like, you know, like this ruler or whatnot. So all of those things are gonna come into play, definitely in season 2, because there's so many objectives and so many moving parts that are still going on. And now we know there's another moving part that's going on outside of the Mad Mage's control. that has nothing to do
Yeah.
with anybody we've seen so far. So I was trying to think, have we seen something in any of the openings that we have not seen in the anime? And I can't think of it right now.
It would be the winged lion. The winged lion is hinted at the first opening and then talked about more, and now his sigil has appeared on Kinosuke.
But we
So
also
he's
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I gotta say, because we also saw that. I mean, they also talked about how they got to get the lion, in this episode. I was just saying, like, if there's anything that we haven't seen at all in terms of like, because similar to how Slime, like for instance, if you just watch season 1 of Slime and you saw the opening and you see the demon lords or whatnot, but they don't show up, like that's what I mean. Like, has the
I think it is like that, but technically the winged lion has only been hinted at, not really shown. We haven't met the character itself just yet. We've just seen pieces, like sightings of the winged lion in conversations, and he didn't really get mentioned until they got to the Golden Kingdom. Like Laios and them didn't know about this second force until this dude told them about it, and then they clocked that they've noticed statues of did they clock that they noticed statues of it around the dungeon? I don't remember, but yeah, like the sigil appeared on Kinosuke. So I think I think my thing is like, this feels more like a mid-season finale than it does a season finale. But I think what's, like I said, sticking in my craw is that it's not going to be a 3 to 6 month wait. It's probably going to amount to a 2-year wait. So that's why for me, it just feels like it's fine that it ended the way it ended, but I think it's that 2-year wait where it's just going to be like, okay, well, not that I don't want to. Obviously, I love this anime so much. I'm going to watch it regardless. But it kind of just really sucks that it ended on a mid note, and now we have to wait 2 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Instead of like I said, yeah. It feels like, it definitely feels like, for when TV shows used to be 24 episodes, and TV shows you would take, the January, February break and then come back in March, like the March to June season or March to May season. So it feels like this would be the cliffhanger right before Christmas, and then we would come back in end of February or March to pick back up the story. But now this is the episode before Christmas, and now we have to wait for 2 more Christmases to continue the story. I think what that, like, my biggest issue is that this is a problem that I'm having with every show, every single show.
So I'll just say that this pretty much has been the anime formula for like ever, except for the old, like, back in the days, they used to be animes would run weekly, right? And it would either run weekly or the anime itself would just be 24 episodes, and that would just be it. The main thing, so that's just been anime for like ever. When they started to do this switch away from doing weekly animes, because it was more taxing on the workers, and I guess you say the trade-off is, the workers aren't being
which is fair, which I'm not like saying that this isn't a fair model. It's just like our conversation that we had earlier this week about Demon Slayer and about My Hero, and just conversations that a lot of people are having with television in general. Like, I know you don't watch Bridgerton, and I don't really watch Bridgerton, but they did like 4 episodes a month ago, waited a whole month. The second half of that just dropped today, and it's only like 4 more episodes. So that's 8 episodes, and I think people had to wait a year. So now the next season is going to be in 2 years, or isn't going to start being produced in 2 years. So it's just that thing of like, cuz this model is affecting all other forms of television media, it just feels more pressing feeling it when watching anime, even though you know that this is the standard that's been for anime. You know what I mean? It just feels like everything is like, it's fine because we need to give animators the time. you know, there are other projects to be worked on.
Mhm.
I also think it really does suck that they waited till the last episode for the announcement of season 2, but that just seems to be
That's
the
usually,
that's
yeah.
just how it is. Um, yeah, it's I don't know. It's just this kind of model. Look, I love this anime no matter what, I'm gonna watch it, but there's a part of me that a lot of this new structure for streaming services
Mhm.
is killing my anticipation and my enjoyment for for the next season, right?
Yeah.
Um, because it's one thing if you know, like, a show hasn't been picked up and it just ends on a cliffhanger and you're just like, well, it got canceled, we're never gonna see it again. But now with this new streaming model in the last couple years, it's like, well, the shows are in limbo and either they're gonna get picked up and or they get picked up, start production, and then they get canceled, or yeah, they're having shorter seasons for and I think also that too, that this episode was what, 23 minutes, 25 minutes?
23 minutes if you take out the opening and the outro.
Right. So, considering that this episode was, I feel like one of the shortest of the season, that's also, I think, what's kind of scratching an scab for me. That well, we could have added an extra 10 minutes to the runtime if you're gonna make us wait 2 years. You know what I mean? Just if you guys are if companies are just gonna be like, well, this episode's like we were talking about it with House of the Dragon. Well,
Yeah.
this episode is 100 minutes. Well, this episode is 45 minutes. It's like, okay, well, maybe we stop making one episode 2 hours long and just start cutting it so that everything is an equal amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if we've watched 40-minute episodes or 35-minute episodes of Dungeon Meshi, 40-minute episodes of Dungeon Meshi, why is your season finale only 25 minutes or 23 minutes? Because we're
Yeah.
taking away the opening and
Pretty
ending.
much it's I don't think there was an episode that was over for like 30 minutes. I think every episode was around that around that 20 the last week's episode was the longest one for sure. Like that was like 29 minutes, but every episode has pretty much been around that 23 25 runtime. 25 is what Netflix likes to do, so when you see something a little bit longer than that, you're like, oh, this is pretty interesting. And last week they didn't have the outro, and that's a staple. So the other thing about anime is that the priority usually falls on the manga, and anime is just the expensive marketing tool to get people to buy the manga and read the manga, because the manga sales dictate, the manga or the light novel sales dictate everything, whether or not something is going to get a season 2. Like an anime could be very 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 popular, but if it doesn't affect the light novel slash manga sales, then that's what they're looking at to see if they should push for a season 2. So the manga sales for Dungeon Meshi were affected massively because of how popular it was, which is why, you know, we're gonna also get a season 2. Same thing with it's his time for Torture Princess. Like I saw the manga sales picked up dramatically, and they're like, all right, this is good advertisement. People are invested in the manga, so now we're gonna give the anime. It's just that the anime just takes a very long time. Something like, for instance, with Demon Slayer, because the anime blew the fuck up, they are just pressuring, say, Ufotable to be like, all right, every year you gotta have this anime out, because, you know, especially because the manga is done, and now they're giving you this larger budget and giving you even more animators, and now you got to fill in this time crunch to get it done within like the next year. Dungeon Meshi, the reason I'm thinking it's gonna take 2 years is because it's Trigger, and that's the studio that's doing it, and they take a long time. But because their stuff is of quality, it's expected why they take a long time. Unless they started hiring,
Again,
yeah,
it isn't a bad thing. Like like I
yeah,
said, my issue isn't that it's gonna take so long. It kind of is, but
mhm,
then it also isn't, because I understand. I love the quality of this anime, and I don't want
mhm,
the quality of this anime to go down at all,
yeah,
because then that would take away some of the enjoyment of it. It's like video games. As if you're gonna take a while to make it, go ahead, take a while to make it. I would
yeah,
rather you make a complete game than throw out a garbage
yeah,
game and then force me to download more DLC because you want to fix it in post
yeah.
production
That's
and
the
all
new
that
live
bullshit.
service model. Yeah.
Right. Um, But yeah, like I said, I think it's just, being
Yeah.
just knowing what TV was like before streaming and just seeing what it's turned into, it doesn't sit right with me, and it doesn't sit right with a lot of people, and it is destroying it's destroying a lot of creativity. I mean, that's a bigger conversation, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think just because of how the model is now is what's making my love for this final episode kind of tampered down a bit.
Yeah.
Because I think if this was, like I said, if this was 20 years ago and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. We'll probably see this
Yeah.
anime next year or something, or
Yeah.
in the winter or at the start of January. It's all good. Um, but it's also like I don't trust Netflix too, so it
Yeah.
also feels like there wasn't high stakes to be like, well, Netflix. I mean, Netflix has canceled a lot of shows that left off on giant cliffhangers too. So like, I don't trust this company, so that's probably also what's sticking in my
Yeah.
craw.
No,
But
for anime, Netflix usually just licensed. They're not doing the production themselves in this one. So the other thing is Trigger, right? This is the first season 2 they're ever doing. They've never done a season 2 for like any of the animes they've done in the last like 10 years or so. Like even Gurren Lagann, which Trigger did. And you think about was it Kill la Kill? Yeah, Trigger did Kill la Kill.
yeah, yep,
Yeah, this is their first season 2, and then I was reading that the mangaka, like, she would not agree to any adaptation of Dungeon Meshi in the beginning until the story was at a point where she feel like she could flush it out, or like the story was in a place that it can get an adaptation. And if they wasn't gonna do Dungeon Meshi fully, like, then she wasn't gonna give them anything. Yeah, that drilling was crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying.
all right. All right. So enough about that. Let's
Yeah.
like get into the episode a little bit before we wrap this up. I think it hit all the high notes that Dungeon Meshi has hit during the season. The jokes, the stylistic animation, how it changed for certain scenes. Um, there were a bit of high stakes there at the beginning when they were fighting the gargoyles, which is fine. The deeper conversations that this anime is now known for, that they take those moments to take them out of the tense physical situations to put them in tense mental situations, where now they have to sit there and either discuss their lives and what brought them there, discuss how far they've come, and then discuss what they're going to do next. Because yeah, like you said before, the bigger issue once Fallon became part dragon was, well, how do we get, like Lio said, how do we get Fallon? We want to save Fallon, but how do we save her without compromising her? Because as Lio's pointed out, you bring her up to the top of the island, the mana there is so thin, she's probably gonna end up dying, or people are gonna end up hunting her because she's scary, she's part monster. This is something, whereas beastmen are one thing, this is a giant dragon thing, and now people would start questioning, well, is she evil? She came from the depths of the dungeon, what happened? And then it's gonna start bringing up questions of, well, how did this happen? And people are going to start looking at Marcel, and then start looking at Laios and Senshi and Chilchuk. So it's, the Fallon situation above ground is just going to bring more problems to everyone. And then everyone who has seen Fallon, who didn't mention that, would now also get in trouble, like Kabru and his team, and Shiro and that team, because they said that there was that, but they didn't say who it was, right? But once you start connecting through like guilds and stuff to know that Shiro was in Laios and Fallon's group at one point, and so is not Namari. It starts to make
Namari. Yeah.
Namari. It'll start, because how people's brains work. They'll start questioning them and then looking at them differently. Well, you were all in on it, and then it's just like, and then it just compromises everyone. So you have to take care of the Fallon problem in the dungeon before you could do anything above the dungeon. I think Laios breaking it down simply breaking down Senshi's plan to split her in half makes perfect sense because, like Lio said, they have been doing this the whole time since episode 1. This is exactly what they've been doing. So everything that they've learned about monsters and consuming monsters and what the dungeon does to the people there and how it's changing now, it's all coming together to form a solution to the bigger problem of Fallon. And I find like the Mad Mage is kind of like the secondary problem. The first problem is how do we save Fallon, because that's what it was at the very beginning. So when Lyos was breaking it down mathematically about how many people they need, so I feel like the orcs would be understandable, and like since they've been pushed up and out and food is scarce for them, I think would be understanding and willing to try it out. Um, I think the Golden Kingdom people as well, because they've been so affected by Thistle, want to help any way they can and to end the madness. So they'll help out. I think for them it wouldn't be like much to persuade them. Kabru's team and Shiro's team, I think it'll take a bit more persuasion. Like they'll be understanding, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, you break it down for me, son. How do we do this? Son, like son, not like son. And then I think he was like, we need another mid-sized party, and that is obviously going to be the elves. And then that, in convincing them that this plan needs to work and how it's going to work and break down, is also going to coincide with what they want to do with the dungeon itself. So I think what might happen is, and again, speculation, I haven't read the manga itself, will be like, Lyos will have to convince them, but then through their own machinations and their own motivations and intentions. And it seems like there's something in the dungeon, a slight sense of immortality that I think that's also been hinting at that they want to discover and break down and possibly get for themselves. If not, then just clear the whole dungeon, clear the whole island, and then boom, we'll figure other shit out. Where they're the cleanup crew essentially. They're the squad. But then it's understanding what eating monsters means and what this will mean for Fallon. So it's kind of like that thing too with like kaiju number 8. Once they discover you're a kaiju, once the corporation and the government discover you're a kaiju, are they going to take you and then experiment on you to figure out how to use you for their own goals? So that's what I feel like the elves are. They're the big corporation. They're the government that's like, well, once we figure out that someone has been fused with a dragon and how that works, how can we use this to our advantage? So that's going to be a big source of tension in the next season, which I find very interesting because we don't know that much about them. We've only seen a little bit. We know what they can do and what they're capable of, but we don't know how far they're willing to go and what their main objective is for this dungeon. So then not only that, now we have the other force, like you said, that's moving things, that's also affecting the dungeon in a way that Thistle, the Mad Mage, isn't, that he is now feeling the change for. Like, what is causing that? I do think it's the Winged Lion, because otherwise, why start name dropping him towards the end? I think it is possible that the Winged Lion's magic, or how strong, I think, didn't the Golden Kingdom residents say that he's like a god to them? Like he's like their god?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So you're basically taking essentially Thistle captured God, but can a mage just capture God without God wanting to be captured? You know what I mean? Like how powerful is Thistle in comparison to the White Lion? Was it now it's like now you have to figure out the motivations of the White Lion. Like, did he allow himself to be captured because he wants to see what's happening but still kind of pull the strings? Because he's obviously sentient and is, has spoken or had influence on this dungeon throughout how many, I don't know how many years. So it is very like, who's really calling the shots here? And what does that mean for our group, for the elves, for all the other groups that are now coming together, and for Fallon? And at the end of it, what that also means for the monsters and the people that also live in this dungeon. So it's all very like, it's all chessboard pieces, like, but who's really playing the game? Is it our group versus the Mad Mage? Is it the Mad Mage versus the White Lion? Is it the residents versus the people above the dungeon? It's like there's so many. It's like a chessboards that are stacked on top of each other, and then the players just keep switching and
Four-dimensional
going
chess at
around
this
like
point.
this. Yeah, yeah, and then all the players are going like this, and everyone's
Yeah.
making moves on all the chessboards, but no one knows who's really playing who. So I think it's so fascinating, and to also take that into context when you talk about eating and communication ecosystems, and also what that means in context for the real world too, because even though we think that the powerful people and the ruling class dictate everything, we also know that if enough of us get band together, we can make the change. We can make the rules, right? But it's like, how do we shift the board and how do we shift the players and who's really doing what in order for us to change things? So, yeah. And then also, like, food brings people together through communication and through talking and through sharing. And then it's like, if you sit enough people down for a meal to open up this communication, how many of us can band together to thwart the evil or the oppressor that's pushing us all down? So, yeah. I love this anime. I love this anime. I love its themes. And I could like literally go on. I give the overall season a 10 out of 10. Even though my disappointment with how it ended, it still doesn't outweigh everything else that I got from this anime. To me, this literally was a perfect anime. I can't think of anything about this that I didn't enjoy, that I found could get tweaked. Um my biggest thing always is how female characters are represented, and from what I can see, there are so many different types of female characters in this show that I think every as people got equal shine in some ways. I'm happy Itsutsumi joined the crew, so now there's two women on the team, but there are two women with two different personalities that are still finding a way to work. Like, there's no contention between them. There's no jealousy. It's just, you're with us, okay? So like, I also just love seeing Itsutsumi rely on Marcel in small ways. Like, she's always on top of Marcel when they're napping, or always right next to Marcel and stuff like that. And Marcel's like, even though she at first was kind of turned off by it, is very open to it now. And also, we're also seeing growth in a female character. There's change in her. Who Marcel is now, even though she is still like so averse to a lot of the suggestions that Laios has and thinks that Laios is an idiot, is more open and understanding to how Laios thinks. Right? It's the same with Chilchuck too. Chilchuck isn't who he was at the start of the show. He's different. Um, yeah, there was character growth from everyone. Characters coming together, characters coming to an understanding, a lot of different representation in skin colors, in races, in personalities. No two characters are the same. And yeah, I don't story animation, like, to me this is definitely a perfect anime. I can't wait to finish my rewatch of it. I love this anime so much.
Yeah, I'm just doubling down. Like, I'm not gonna repeat anything you said because you're sharing the same sentiments pretty much. Yeah, like just gonna add on, like, I am so intrigued about the magic system in this series as well. Because that's always one of my big things too. How is the magic system? Like, does it even have a magic system? Like, does the anime have a magic system and stuff like that? And I am super intrigued by the aspect of black magic in this series and how conspicuous they make it. There's so many questions about it, so much exploration that can still be had in it, especially because a lot of things that we have seen in other media known as black magic aren't seen as black magic in this series. It's something that we constantly talk about, as well as some of the people who comment on our videos also talk about, and those manga readers as well, that, you know, they say they really do love the usage of black magic, and they said we haven't seen anything yet. So I mean, I already said it. I'm going to read the book. It's one of the, like, very few anime do I pick up the manga for it like immediately, like after it's done. And because there's also like, because usually like I haven't read as much manga as I used to, like back in the days and whatnot. So it's funny when I picked up Free Ren because I liked the premise. And I was like, oh, you know what? The Demon Lord's already been beaten. That's something new. And now we're just going through like some of the motions. And then that gets picked up for an anime. And I'm like, oh shit, that's crazy. But this is working in reverse. I think between this and eventually like Kaiju number 8 are two series that I'm like going to pick up the manga for. Kaiju number 8, of course, I mentioned in that would have been spoiled, but even if I wasn't spoiled, I would still pick up the manga for it. But yeah, for this, I'm gonna start reading the manga like maybe immediately. Like and if I like from reading it, if people would like to hear like opinions about it or whatnot, reviews, maybe, because now that I gotta think about, well, I gotta tell Kayla, hey, don't look at the channel because this might be a possible spoiler.
Well, okay, wait. So I purchased the first volume, so I already have the first volume, and I'm gonna read it next week to fill in the emptiness that this has now left, because this is the season finale. So I will be reading it next week. And then eventually, like I said, I think I definitely want to buy at least up to where this season 1 has ended, and then decide from there, depending on how far I've gotten and how long it's taken me to read it, and how much time I have between that and the next season. Because like I've been spoiled. I know what's gonna happen, but I don't know the context of how things are gonna shake out.
Okay.
So it like we talked about this in a few videos, and even in this one, in our Dungeon Meshi ones. For me, it really is like, I don't mind a spoiler sometimes, because I need to, even though I know a series spoiler, I still need to know the context and how and why it happened, or how we got to that point of said spoiler.
Okay.
And it really depends on how much I love the media I'm taking in. So if it's like we talked about Demon Slayer. I was majorly spoiled with a big thing in Demon Slayer. After this week's episode, I could give two shits what happens. So people don't care if I get spoiled at this point or not, because I've checked out. But with this, it's like, even if I get spoiled, I'm still along for the ride. It really is just about where me reading the manga and season 2 meet in the middle, like how far it is. Because I do love my reaction I do like that my reaction is fresh to these situations. I think it brings out something a bit more. Whereas like us rewatching Magic Knight Rayearth for me, whereas I played the video game, I've seen the anime and the OVA, and I've read the manga, and I know what happens in season 2. It was really just a refresher, even though I knew what was gonna happen. It's the same thing with Sailor Moon. I know what's gonna happen. So part of me, the reaction is more so, how do they pull it off, as opposed to, oh my god, I can't believe this happened, kind of thing. It's like, you're shocked that a situation happened. There's that feeling, and then there's the feeling of, oh, okay, so this is how they did it. They're two different feelings. I think with Dungeon Meshi, I like the, oh shit, this happened, as opposed to, oh well, okay, that's how they did it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it kind of is just a race against time at this point. Like I said, I'm gonna read the first volume this next week. And then I think when I come back, I'll order the next two. But yeah, it takes me a while to read this stuff. I mean, if you guys want reviews, I mean, since you're gonna read it and I'm gonna read it, it's kind of really just a point of whether we do reviews. We talk about it on here with our audience, and how far you and I both get. Like I said, I still got
30 or 40 chapters off of where this episode left off. I'm assuming we're about 40 or so chapters off from where the current manga is at, because I think when I last brought it up, it was like around chapter 40ish, like about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I think there's like 90 chapters or something like that. And it's monthly, so that's the other thing. So it's like, catching up probably could be done in like 2 days because of how even though they're monthly chapters, they are still long. But I think catching up will take like 2-3 days if you're reading at like, I mean, put it like this: I have read a manga completely from beginning to like end in a day. When it just got like, it was just like, just got into like Black Clover. I think I read like 150 chapters in a day because shit was just like, after the anime ended and whatnot, I was like, nah, this shit was a brutal cliffhanger. Like, and I just had to go and read, and I read like 150 chapters. Mashal, I saw where there was a cliffhanger that happened in like in the middle of the season 2 and whatnot, and I immediately just read the other like 100 chapters, and that took like a day. But because I was just like zeroed in, and I'm just like, but I wasn't doing any content for that, so that's very different from saying that, okay, probably by arc or chapter and everything like that. No, well, not by chapter review, because we're not.
I think it would be by volume review.
Yeah, because until caught up, like by chapter review would happen after caught up, but because it's already out, it more so more so volume or arc review. So I'll look to see what the story arcs are if someone already has like a wiki page of it, and then read it by arc, and then like talk about the arc in its totality, and like highlight like key points there, and then probably keep doing something like that until it's like, now we're caught up, and now it's like every month new chapter drops. Well, now every month a new video, pretty much, for that, because that's how the manga community there's manga reviews. Like One Piece comes out every single week, so there's every single week you're covering the chapter, you're doing the live reactions to the chapter as well, because it's the same thing, simple. It's very different reading and seeing the panels itself versus, of course, watching anime in terms of or I should say, that's the part that's the same. Like if you're live reading and live reacting to the manga panels and whatnot, and then the review portion and the theories that come out afterwards. Because like, let's say we're reading it and we're reading an arc, and now we're just having these like hour-long discussions like this video, like about, yo, this changes everything in Dungeon Meshi, or what we possibly could think,
or it's now changed your perspective, because reading it and watching it, they're not always one for one. We talk about this all the time for comic books and for manga, and the difference in both mediums, and when they get adapted to a live action or a animated medium, and it's like, just because you're watching it and you'll have one idea of how you feel about it, but then reading it, it'll either give you more context, or you'll see what's been changed or what's been taken out, what's missing. So it'll change your perspective on it. I know that's how I feel about like comic books and stuff. Like that's how I feel when we were watching X-Men 97. Just because I knew some of the storylines, they animated it differently. They took different pieces from a bunch of different comics, and so it's changed my perspective and my idea, even though again it's technically it changes your perspective of the story and how it can be told and how it was told for the time and what the writer may have been thinking. It's like when we were watching Solo Leveling, and you told me that that mostly in Solo Leveling it's more focused on the main character, whereas with the anime they kind of fleshed out other things. So then in watching it has changed your perspective on the story, because it's a different viewpoint, or different viewpoints now than what the manhwa was.
And I think Dungeon Meshi probably have a lot of things like the mangaka, what she probably, because I mean like what, just to say, like if there's things that Dungeon Meshi left out, right, that's something that reading from the beginning would entail, especially now that we know it's about like 40 or 45 some odd chapters, covers basically all of season 1, which was 24 episodes. So then reading to see, especially because some of the episodes, apparently we watched it with the wrong subtitles, so some of the things got lost in translations and whatnot, so that would be something to just read from the beginning in Dungeon Meshi. This is one of those series that along with Free Reign, because Free Reign right now I think was on the mini hiatus and whatnot, reading so they're not releasing new chapters, but this is one of the ones that's fresh in my mind. And
What do you rate it?
Oh, easily a 10. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I said. Yeah. Like I said, I had the same exact feelings as you. Yeah, like it's a 10. This along with Freerin, two of the best new series to come out in recent years. Like I said last week, on my anime list, whatever popularity this had, like it's criminally underrated. I think a lot of people who jumped out of the first 3 episodes and whatnot are like, yeah, I'm not gonna rehash that, but
Right.
yeah, I know how I feel about that already. I think it deserved more than a fair chance. And it's funny because a lot of people are coming to check out Dungeon Meshi because they saw a few action scenes, a few, trigger well done scenes and animations, and they're just like, oh, I didn't know Dungeon Meshi was gonna be like that. But people didn't give it a chance in the beginning because all they
Right.
thought about was like, oh, if I wanted to know about cooking, I'll watch Shokugeki no Soma. And I'm not here to shit on that series because I like that series, but I'm just saying, like, there's more story here, right? There's just way more story here. It's way more in depth, and it's way darker, than meets the eye. And I can't really think of many black comedy animes out there that can have so many like dark things happen in it, and we have to lighten the mood with these jokes on like, but it's still on top of morbid things. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are killing monsters and eating their carcasses at the end of the day too. Like, that's kind of sick.
But then it
It's
also goes
survival.
to
Yeah.
the moral line of, well, we kill cows and pigs
Yeah.
and chickens and we eat their carcasses all the time.
Yeah.
Is it only different because you assume a monster is different, right? It's all about survival at the end of the day.
Yeah, because they're like, what's the difference? They even go, and I think they touched upon this as well. Like, there's a difference between eating monsters and eating animals. Well, where's the moral line, right? I mean,
Where's the line?
I can tell you one thing: PETA can never watch this anime.
Yeah. Look, I'll say this. It is very much just like, I don't think there is I think people who assume that there's a moral line want to only feel a superiority in that, or are like, honestly, I'm a meat eater.
Same.
I'm also a vegetable eater. I think at one point, when we were talking, one of the mushrooms, when they were cooking with mushrooms, I said mushrooms are living beings. Mushrooms are intelligent living beings, but a lot of us eat it. And it's scientifically proven that they communicate with each other and they create environments and ecosystems. Um, and also, you have to talk about the implications of if you're just a vegan and what that really means for the environment too. There is no ethical consumption in survival. Um, and that's a whole other topic, but I think that this also raises that question as well. But I think it's important to understand that when you are without and you're down and out and you're just trying to get through, you have to do with what you got. You have to do with what you have around you, right? Um, you if there's nothing, if there's no chicken to eat, well, what is there to eat? You got to get through. You have a mission, you have a goal, or even just for personal survival, you want to see you want to see tomorrow, you want to see the day after that. You have to figure it out. Um, I think it does come. I think the moral gray area is the demi monsters. I think that's always where it's just like, well, you know, do we eat a merman? Do we eat a siren? Where is the line? How do you really categorize dryads or Falins? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you categorize harpy eggs when in fact you know that they're going to turn into half human, half winged creature? Like, that to me is the moral gray area. Where do you stand on that stuff? Now,
Yeah.
again, for me, it is about survival. So, watch enough Yellow Jackets, you get it. But yeah, but that's like a bigger conversation that I'm happy to delve into. I think the themes in this show, the questions that it brings up, if you just even take out the anime aspects of it, if you take out the fantasy aspects of it, like the application of magic and science, labels are what's conducive to being bad and what's conducive to being good. You know, it's all about perspective and usage. Because as we know, science in the real world is both bad and good. Science has killed so many people, but science has saved so many lives, right? Creation has saved so many people. Creation has destroyed so many lives. Same with art. Art has changed perspective of people or influenced people. It's all there. These are all things that we have to. It's hard to look at, but I don't know. Like for me, with an open-minded individual, and kind of just trying to get by in the world and trying to do my best to be a positive force, I'm constantly thinking about these things, right? About influence, about power, about creation. And this anime talks about a lot of that. And I know it maybe a lot of people aren't seeing it, but I think if you watch it all and just sit with it, the questions are always being asked. Where's the line? Or, you know, what power does a label have? Or what power does perception have? And how you get by. And it's all told through this group of people who all have their different viewpoints, who have all had their different journeys in life, have now come together, and it's all led to this, and is now all leading to, well, now we have come to the conclusion of how we want to get by. Now we have to convince everyone else we've met and how to change their perspective in order to stop the Mad Mage and in order to save someone who is very important to us. Because for all these people they don't care about Fallon, but Fallon is important to the crew, so they have to figure out a way to make these people care for Fallon, right? So, oh man, this show, 10 out of 10. I could do a whole fucking TED talk on it. I really do love this show. And do you have the mangaka's name? Because I want to shout out to her. I want to say thank you to her for writing this.
Dungeon Meshi is written by Ryoko Koi.
Ryoko Koi, thank you so much for your storytelling, for creating this. I am so appreciative of this masterful piece of work that you have allowed us to witness, to consume. Thank you for sharing it with us. The 10 out of 10. I can't wait to read your work word for word as opposed to it being told through someone else. I can't wait. Thank you for it. I love it. 10 out of 10. 10 out of fucking 10. I can go on and on, but I feel like this has been 3 hours of conversation. But yeah, 10 out of 10. 10 out top. It's in my top list of all time.
This is Dungeon Meshi. I didn't know what we were getting into.
I'm glad I suggested it.
Yeah, because this was because I mean when it was when you suggested it was like, okay, they're eating dungeons. Like I was like, I'm thinking more of this other isekai anime I recently watched where, you know, they're just cooking and everything. I was like, okay, we got a new cooking anime, and we're just eating monsters in the dungeon, and we got something complete. I mean, sure, we got eating monsters in a dungeon, but the story behind eating these monsters in the dungeon has just been so good, and the comedy has been on point. We'll be here forever, folks. Like, but don't worry, I mean, like, you know, maybe you'll join me in the manga conversation sooner rather than later. But yeah, I'm gonna be definitely reading this. Let me know, and definitely let me know, Kayla, if you want to join me on that.
Like I said, I'm reading. Just FYI for people, I'm going away next week, so on my flight, I will be reading the first volume, and when I come back, I know, like I said, I'm definitely ordering and reading up to where this has ended. After that's kind of deciding if I want to go for it or not. But I've got like a stack maybe this big of books, comics, and manga that I have to catch up on. So, and I know we were also talking about getting you more into X-Men stuff too, so it is very like there's a lot of homework happening behind the scenes right now. So it's a lot.
Oh man. All right, folks, we'll end it off there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed Dungeon Meshi for this season, and don't worry, we'll be catching you guys pretty soon for some more. So until next time, you already know.
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Oh man.